My name is Mary Leclaire, and I've been involved with HAC a long time. I don't even remember how many years that I've been in the walk, and I've been involved in the telethon ever since it started, and have been involved in volunteering for HAC for many years because I believe in what they do. I believe in their mission, I believe in what they do, and especially believe in what they're doing now as far as prevention is concerned. I'm a big fan of prevention. Homelessness doesn't hit an age group. Homelessness, it hits the elderly, it hits the middle-aged, and it hits the children. And I don't think there's anything worse than seeing children in a family homeless. I think that's one of the things that we can't find acceptable. It's unacceptable to see a child homeless. Oh, I absolutely remember when the motels were full of families, and it's not the right thing. If a child doesn't feel safe and a child doesn't feel protected, they're not going to be able to go to school and learn. They're not going to be able to feel like they can accomplish anything. They're afraid. They don't know where they're going to be that night. They don't know whether they're going to be sleeping in a car. They don't know whether they're going to be sleeping in a tent. It's not right. It's not right. They should never, we should never accept that as a society. There's many reasons to be homeless. There are a few people who really do not want, they do not want their lifestyle to change. They want to be without any responsibilities. But for the most part of it, and this has been my experience, when I see somebody become homeless, you know, I say this over and over and over again. I can't tell you how many times I've said this. And for the people out there listening, you don't know how close you are to being homeless. Most people are 2 paydays away from being homeless. I have seen this over and over and over. The unexpected happens. You have an accident. You have an accident and you can't work, and you lose your job, and then you lose your insurance, so you can't even take care of your medical bills. And before you know it, you're behind on your bills, you're behind on your rent, and your house is being foreclosed on. I've seen this over and over. And it's always the same thing. A person can get behind so easily. And, you know, not even an accident. It can be an illness. It can be about a cancer. It can be any number of things. I can think of so many cases that I've been involved in, like a nurse who had a cancer operation and then had other problems because of it, and lost her job, lost her insurance, and that's always the way that's always the succession it goes in. You lose your insurance, you lose your home, and then once you're homeless, you can't put your application in to every place on the street to get a job because you don't have a phone for them to call you and tell you that you have a job. You know, I will never forget the experience that I had of being with the homeless one Christmas when we had the outdoors. And the most amazing part to me was how slow time goes by when you're homeless and you're walking. You don't walk in the store and get a cup of coffee. You don't go have a cup of hot soup in a restaurant. You walk. You walk and you're cold and you're tired and you're not sure where you're going to sleep that night. And it's cold out. It's a feeling I'll never forget. I felt so guilty when I came home at 6 o'clock the next morning after spending my night out. I went home and I took the hottest shower I could take. But I felt guilty because those people I had just left, they weren't taking a hot shower while I was taking a hot shower. They were walking because that's what they were going to do all day. And they were going to go to the Salvation Army and have lunch. I mean, that's their life. Anybody that, you know, looks at a homeless person and says, you know, thinks that couldn't be them. It could be them. Please, if you're thinking about walking in September, make this our last year, but make it our best year. Think about the people you're walking for. Think about the people who really need the help, and make this our biggest year ever.
My first walk was in 2003, and at that point I was the only one that walked, at least from our church in Orleans. The walk is very important because it's helped raise so much money through the years. I think even beyond the money, it's the participation of the people that are in the walk and what they do to the people that are even just standing around watching, gets everybody involved in the good cause of the Housing Assistance Corporation. One thing I like about HAC in particular is it's local, and it's so diversified in the many different ways it helps people. We started in 2002 when the homelessness issue on Cape Cod was so prevalent. We started a homeless mission, and then we also started our homeless hospitality program. And as that evolved, our mission commission decided to also put HAC into the budget. You know, when you do a mission a month, that's 12 a year. Sometimes you have 18 to 24 or even 30 missions you'd like to do. And one thing that we have done through the years, since 2004, is to include HAC every year. And in the last few years it's been September. This year we did it in August, so we make sure that we would have the check all ready to go when we did the walk. To me, you know, there was a lot of complaining, at least in the town of Yarmouth, about the motels being used for people, and I know there were some problems along the way, but I think ultimately it was a good thing, because without the hotels they'd probably be in their cars. I think hotels are okay when they're the best of the worst. Obviously, I think through the years what the homeless program has done, along with HAC, is have a very positive reaction to people being homeless, and where they actually have some good percentages in their favor of getting better housing.
So do you see the walk as a way of preventing homelessness?
Absolutely, because the money that is collected on the walk is used to what I think HAC does best, and that is in homeless prevention. I'm going to do at least 1 or 2 miles. I have done 5 in the past and found it a little bit too much for my feet, especially the recovery period. But I would encourage most people that are able to do the whole 5. And even though I've only done the walks in Orleans, I believe people from our church that were able to go last year say Hyannis is really a nice place to walk. I think people, you know, like myself, it's really good that I can participate. One thing I liked about one year, and probably most years, was that the people from our church that were involved in the walk were from every generation. From, I think Kyle Smith was less than 1 when he did his first walk, and we had people we had, you know, teenagers, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and even 70s that did it on that particular year when our church had 18 to 20 participants.
What drew me to it was the fact that HAC was giving the local people an opportunity that didn't cost them anything, but to really show support and show in a very real way that there was an absolute need to provide housing for folks, particularly the little ones, who through no fault of their own, just through circumstances, were forced out of their homes or forced into the street. And it could have been me or anybody that was close to me. It's more than personal for me. Members of my own family at one time or another have been in situations where they were either at the mercy of life itself and did not have a place to go and needed a helping hand, and those things weren't always available. So someone else had to step in and take over. And then there's the occasional member of your own family who, for whatever reason, you aren't able to reach, and someone else is the one who is able to help straighten them out and make life better for them. And you just, no matter how much you loved them, there was nothing you could do to help. It took someone else's influence. My mother and my father, they were always the ones who found ways to help. And I think because it was very easy for them to recognize when people were in really tough stuff and had been put there by life, not by choice. You know, we hear a lot about that. People choose to be homeless. I don't think anybody chooses it. They may not choose to be part of a settlement house or something, but I don't think anybody chooses to be without a place to live. They either succumb or they become committed to making sure it doesn't happen to them again or to anybody that they care about. I don't think it makes anybody very devil-may-care, and I don't think it leaves them without an opinion. And for some people, I think it can induce violence when they see there's no empathy. And I think it shortens their lives. Everybody is somebody's baby. And everybody needs a place to lay their head and a place where they can close a door and feel safe. People make a statement by gathering together just to do this. When you show up at Angel House or even drive by and you see the banners and you see the kids and you see the dogs and you see the people who either rollerblade or bicycle or walk or jog pushing a baby carriage or pulling a wagon, and of every age, you know, it takes no great talent to do this. But it's in seeing these folks come together, all for a common reason. It's just a walk or a run or a jaunt or a jog, depending on who you are, and they're having a good time doing it. And while they're doing it, they're doing so much, and their involvement, even when they come back pooped, it's fun. And it probably does more to show that doing a good thing may make you tired, but it isn't going to kill you. And it can mean so much. And it's that public expression, just by being there, that not only raises awareness, I mean, because how can that many people be involved in something that isn't going to be beneficial to someone? There's not a selfish thing in there. And you don't get anything out of it other than the fact that you pooped and you feel good. And that's both at the same time. You did something for someone else. And it's hard for me to think that this is the last year they're going to do it. Any blister you raise will last only a very short while, but the feeling that you'll get from doing it will last you a lifetime and can help to change someone else's life.
I'm Diane Casey-Lee, and I'm the Executive Director of the Cape Cod Council of Churches, and I've had that role for going on to 10 years, I think, this September. Our organization works with all of the faith community across the Cape, but we do work most closely and represent the churches of the Protestant denomination, and also on our board we have members of the Roman Catholic Church. So we try to speak with one voice on behalf of the marginalized and disadvantaged folks who are living on the Cape, even though we're not supposed to have any marginalized and disadvantaged folks on the Cape, but we do. In particular, this walk that's coming up in September is critical to raise funds for housing, homeless prevention, housing, and I know HAC does a remarkable service in providing folks with the opportunity to learn how to become a homeowner, how to be a good tenant, how to work with your utility companies and keep those utilities on, and be also a good parent and a good member of the community. In other words, building a solid base. But that all starts with good, solid housing, and that's a very difficult commodity to come by for people who are low income, working poor, for no income, and in these times particularly, folks who are experiencing, perhaps for the first time in their lives, loss of income due to the economic stressors we're all experiencing. So HAC stands at the ready. I know as a representative of the faith community that the churches and the synagogues and the mosques across the Cape stand ready to support this effort, because it does help their neighbors from Provincetown to Falmouth. Although I spent a lot of time, just because we're a very small staff, all of our staff are out doing the work they're supposed to be doing, ministering to folks who need help. I'm often picking up phones as I'm writing grants, and some of the phone calls I get, for example, this morning, a young man who hasn't been able to work since January, and this is the first time he's ever experienced being behind in his rent, and he's going to be evicted. And he's unfortunately waited till the very last moment to ask for help, and that's typical, because we just never think we're going to be in that position, that next week I'm going to get a job, something is going to change, and it's going to be okay. This is going to be very difficult for us to come up with 2 months rent. He's 2 months behind, and on the Cape that means over $2,000. And his landlord has been very patient and understanding, but the landlord also has obligations. So what I'm experiencing almost on a day-to-day basis, I could safely say that I probably pick up the phone, and for 3 out of the 5 phone calls that I pick up are for housing. Now those are the ones I pick up. We have an administrative assistant and also some case managers who may pick up the phone. So that's just my observation. But the housing crisis on the Cape is not getting better. In fact, I would venture to say it's escalating, and the winter's coming, so there's going to be less work in those kinds of trades that is really the foundation of the Cape's economy: construction, tourism. So I don't have much hope that we're going to see a turnaround in our economy across the nation within the next year, and I think we're going to be challenged to try to help even more folks than we have in the past. But I do know for a fact that it is much cheaper and emotionally satisfying for folks like us who work in the field to keep a person in housing. For the person who's going to lose their housing, it's a tremendous impact on their lives and the lives of their children. It's a trauma when they become homeless. So the dollars to keep a family in their home, we spend less money. The trauma and the devastation on the emotional impact on the family is, we can't put a dollar sign on it, but it's tragic. The research has shown that to keep a family safe in their own home to prevent homelessness will cost $2,000. To put a family in a shelter is $4,000 to $5,000. If there are shelters available, if there are shelters that will keep the family together on the Cape. Very often there aren't sheltering opportunities on the Cape. So again, I'll stress the emotional impact to keep folks on Cape in their homes, as opposed to moving them to, even just moving from another town is a emotional stressor on the children and on the family. Every housing program that we come up with over the years, and I've been doing this kind of work for 25 years, is hopefully going to be the solution. And some of them have been the solution. For example, some of the programs I mentioned earlier that HAC provides are solution-based and have proved to be successful. The ways to raise money is obviously through this walk that's coming up in September, through donations, purchasing, actually it's not a donation, you purchase a food card at your church or synagogue or school or supermarket for $25 or $50 or $100, and I believe 5% goes to Housing Assistance Corporation. And that is a huge contribution towards stabilizing families and keeping them in their homes. And and we also benefit. I feel good. I do that every Sunday. And I think the merchants who participate also benefit because they have a steady customer. I've got that card, I'm going to go back again. And of course, the beneficiary that we don't ever see are the families and the children that HAC is able to keep in their own homes. The Council of Churches was founded in 1956 by a group of clergy people, Protestant clergy folks, on the Cape, who met and formed a group of men at that time who became the chaplain, who supported a chaplain at Cape Cod Hospital. And they did such a great job, and it was a good way to bring clergy folk together, that they became more organized and became incorporated, and the Council of Churches is now an incorporated nonprofit organization and has been. We're going into our 53rd year. So how we got involved in human services is just the mission is to bring the message of Jesus Christ to the Cape. And that message, Christ's message, is to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, and house our neighbors. And that's what the Council of Churches is doing. We identified a need that that organizations like HAC and Community Action and I can't think of another, Housing Assistance, Homeless Prevention Council are chartered to do as secular organizations, nonprofits. And they were doing very, very well, but there was a sort of a missing piece where the churches could really step up to the plate, and they have done that. I think it's one of the most enjoyable and rewarding and beneficial ways to spend a day. You're out in the fresh air, you're with your friends and colleagues, and at the same time, you're doing a wonderful thing for an organization that helps so many people. It's a great opportunity for people on the Cape to come together and support a very important event in the life of Cape Cod.
My name is Carolyn Nelson, and I have done the walk for at least about 16 years, and I look forward to it every year. I'm hoping I can do it for this year too, seeing it as the last one. I walk because, well, I like to walk is one thing, but also I I really support HAC. I believe they do a tremendous job, and I volunteer for them in many ways, but I really, and I like the people they help, and I just want to support them all I can. I think to encourage other people to participate, I would tell them it's well organized. I would tell them it's usually a nice day, and people are very friendly, and it's just a lot of fun. And if you get tired, you can sit down for a while or hop on a bus that comes around and pick up people who have blisters on their feet or something like that. It's, I just think it's a great community effort, and I love doing it.
Housing Assistance Corporation has helped over 100,000 people since 1974. In just 1 year, HAC conducted 339 single-family energy audits to reduce electrical use, weatherized 200 single-family homes, provided housing guidance and services to over 5,000 people, assisted 599 households with mortgage foreclosure and reverse mortgage counseling, sheltered 229 families, which included 335 children, served 547 different homeless women and men at the NOAA Center, prevented almost 500 families, including over 1,000 children, from becoming homeless, administered 935 rental subsidies for families, elders, veterans, and disabled clients, paid $8 million in rent annually to landlords, 70% of whom are local, and with the help of over 500 volunteers, served 43,800 meals.